Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. And today you are in for a treat. And I'm going to start off before I introduce our author. There is a description of his book that I cannot take the credit, my assistant compiled together. And it talks about how our thoughts can either make or break us. And when I saw that, literally tears started to roll down my eyes because I know it to be true. There have been so many things in my life that my thoughts held me hostage. And once I realized that you can manifest things, you can have a positive mindset about something and it will happen, right? It may not happen immediately, but it will happen. And if you just go along for the journey, you will see it manifest. So, my author today is Rahul Karan Sharma, author of the book Habits with the number 4 Miracles. Design your life your way. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lisa, for having me on the show and taking the time to read the book and then be prepared for this conversation. Really appreciate all the effort that you take and the work that you're doing for the community. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And not only read the book, but write in the book, highlight in the book. I am that type of reader that when I'm reading, I kid you not, I'm reading, I'm reflecting, sometimes I'm crying.
Mhm.
And when I'm done, I just feel so much better. I'm like rejuvenated, right? My legs could be hurting, and I could just sit down and read a book and then things can change. Like in the book, you make this statement, then it hit me. I was out of practice for sure, right? Sometimes you have those moments, and I have a place where I read my books, and I'm in Chicago, right? So sometimes it's a little chilly. So I'll have
Mhm.
my blanket, I'll have my cup of tea. I always have a cup of tea because it's my favorite thing to do. And I just sit there and go into my zone, and it's such a happy place that my desire is that everyone can experience a happy place, whatever that is.
Mhm.
So tell us, before we get into the book, and just we're not going to tell them all the things about the book because we want them to purchase their own copy of the book. But just outside of the book, tell our listening, viewing audience about you, who you are, and who you serve.
Absolutely. So my name is Rahul Karan Sharma, based in Washington, D.C. metro area. I help young leaders, managers become empowered leaders. And I also have a great desire to support our student community to help them to build their design, build their life their way. And when I was writing this book, it was the students were in my mind because as a student, I also got lost. And with God's grace, I had great mentors, great professors, good friends who guided me to where I am today. And I thought that this book would be better served to them. And healthy habits, if inculcated early on, would give them the benefits for the lifetime. So I'm a servant leader, and I really love to help people to live the life their way.
I love it. And not only live the life their way, but actually live their life, right?
Mhm.
I think oftentimes we forget that we each only get this one life, right? Now, of course, some believe in the afterlife and all those things, but I believe that the time to do things is now. It's not, let me get myself prepared. You should be preparing every day, right? That's what it means to have habits. And habits for miracles, for me, I am along for the journey because I believe in miracles. I believe in making something a habit. I recently I had this, and this is not about the book, but this is just speaks to habits. So I purchased this vibration machine during the pandemic, and it was downstairs in my basement in my workout room. And I was like, you really need to get on this every day. How can you make it a habit where it's something that you do every day? So this is what I did. I brought it from upstairs. I put it in the bedroom. And so once I get out of the bed in the morning, I will see it. And so seeing it allows me to actually get onto it as opposed to having to walk down the steps, right? But
Mhm.
then I didn't stop there. So once I come out of the bedroom, I go down the steps. I have this, I think it's called a chair elliptical where you sit in it and move your legs, right?
Mhm.
So on the days where I'm not going to work out, those are two things that I've set up visual cues that there's something that I must do. Same thing with my journal that's on the side of my bed, right? I know that this is something that I have to do. And it's not for everybody else, it's for me, right? At 51, who looks like I'm 25, I want to live.
Absolutely. Mhm.
I want to live for a long time. My grandfather currently is 103 years old. And
Wow.
I know that in order to get to that place, that there are habits that I have to have in place. And so those actually work for me. And I didn't realize how powerful it would be until it was happening. Like I literally would just, first of all, when I wake up, I say, thank you, God, for another day, right? But then
Mhm.
I go to the bathroom and immediately I go on the machine. And during this time, I can listen to some soft music and I look up and the time is over. And it didn't
Mhm.
take a whole lot of energy. It just took me changing my mindset to make it a habit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think most of the time we feel that for us to inculcate a habit, we need to do it for more time. And that is probably in my view, it is more than a myth. It's about the consistency. You do it for 5 minutes, but you do it on a daily basis. That will probably make a difference in building that habit. And you rightly mentioned seeing it. I have heard and I have followed that the goals, you need to write your goals in front of you. It has to be in your room. It has to be in those common areas. Why? Because when you see it, then you get your mind focused on those goals. So
Yeah.
same thing is with the habits. Stay consistent. Do it small. Start small, but do it consistently.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? The consistency part, I think, is something, if we all will be honest, that from time to time we struggle with. But then also, I believe that maybe it's not exercise, maybe it's not reading, but maybe it's something else that you do for you consistently, such as learning something new. I recently got into doing some creative things away from the computer, right? On the computer, I can do lots of creative things. But if you take me out of the computer and say, okay, I want you to stitch this or cut that, I was like, "Ugh." But once I actually started doing it, I was like, I like this. And it's as enjoyable as reading the book, um, as doing something different. But I had to make sure I was open minded about it as opposed to saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely. So we need to have that growth mindset in us, embrace that change. And Dr. Lisa, what I have observed is sometimes we fear change, and most of the time it happens that when you indulge in that change, you like it. You like doing what you did. So my request to all our listeners would be is don't think about what would happen in the past, in the future. Just focus about doing things. It would be an experience. And if in the past you also had a similar experience like mine, that you were double minded, but you went for it and you just loved it. So next time, whenever you're trying to do something new, just go back to that memory lane that, man, I was not going for it, but I did it and I enjoyed it. So next time, do that as well. That will be very, very helpful.
Absolutely. And I'll share with you something. One of the things that I say this over and over again in most of the episodes, that I don't do initial meetings with my authors. We literally come on, we're in Zoom, right? We chat for about 3 to 5 minutes and then I start recording. So something that you don't know is that in my book, Grow With Me, chapter 12 is about faith over fear.
Mm.
And just hearing you say, just do it really brought chills down my arms, because I remember a time where there were a thing in particular that I knew I needed to do, but I was afraid. And when I tell you, the moment that I made the decision that I was going to do it and I did it, this sense of peace came over me that every time I think about it, it tears me up. And I know somebody might be saying, "Well, what was that?" I decided that I was no longer going to be held hostage by salary and benefits. I was working as a university professor online. As of 2024, I've been teaching for like 26 years. And I realized that it was time for me to walk away. But I was afraid. I was fearful about what the other side was going to look like. But I said to myself, you can't talk about having a growth mindset. You can't be the growth motivator if you don't put the faith over fear. And when I tell you the joy and the peace that I have, it is so rewarding, so refreshing. And anyone that sees me on the other side of it, they look at me and they say, wow, you look so peaceful and so relaxed. And I guess I did a good job of, in my mind, carrying the stress, right? And the burnout and all of that. But when they see me on this other side, they're like, wow, wow. So in your book, you talk about breaking free from those limiting beliefs and cultivating some healthy habits. So share with our listening and viewing audience what put you on the path to write this book.
So one of the biggest reason for me to write this book was my own experience of working in corporate for over 20 years. I realized that a lot of us, we have some great potential, but for some or the other reason, whether we fall short of those things or we don't get the proper support, we are unable to unleash our true potential. And this I notice primarily with the college graduates when we hire them with a very rigorous interview process. We hire them with great promise, but things does not go the way we thought it will go. So it was more of a giving back to society. So based on my own experience while I was growing up, the challenges that I had, how I overcome those challenges is what I have put down into this book. And also post pandemic, there were a few things going in my own life, which I thought it is important for me to fight back. And as you rightly mentioned about, if you are a growth motivator, if you are a inspiration individual, you need to do it from within. And I had many chances in my own life where I wanted to step out from the corporate role. But yes, the biweekly paycheck was very comfortable. And for you to really come out of that comfort zone, it takes that courage. But with God's grace, I was surrounded with great supporters, my family, my friends, and I took that decision in December 23 to step out of corporate America and live a life of my own. And very fortunate that I did, and I'm excited for the future that it has for me. And I'm very supportive to the cause that I'm doing, which is helping others build their life their way, and making sure that they are able to unleash their own potential.
Wow. So we have something in common. 2023 must have been a good year because
Mhm.
you made your change November 2020 or December 2023,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I made mine November
Wow.
2023. And November 2023 is when I gave the notice. But if I could be honest, November 2022 is when I made the decision that it was time. And honestly, the only reason that it took that long was because I was in the middle of writing my book, and my publisher said, "Keep the job so that we can get through the release of the book." And then April 2023, I was turning 50. So I was having this big party. Um, but those days and nights leading up to the day when I gave the notice were some of the most challenging times of life. And you said it, I was comfortable. And I had to get to a place where I was comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's when I was able to write the letter, put it away. And then when the day came, it was like the sun just came out and I had permission to go ahead and verbalize it. And my voice was strong, my smile was bright as usual. And so, on the other side of it, has it been scary? Oh, yeah. But
Mhm.
every day I wake up saying, I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see what emotions that I experience. A lot of people think, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I was doing both. I was entrepreneur, I was, the corporate hero,
Mhm.
but I had to realize that I was the talent. I was the one that was making them millions and billions of dollars because of how creative I was, because of how innovative I was. Anytime there was anything new, new technology, I made it a habit to be the first person to go all in. And I'm like, if you could take risks in that environment, why can't you take a risk on yourself? Right.
Mhm.
And so once I broke free from that limiting belief that I needed the salary, and this was the interesting part, my husband was like, I 150% support you in this journey. And so every time he'd be like, did you do it yet? Did you do it yet? And I was like, no, I will know when the time is right. And after my, publisher said, wait, I said, okay. I was like, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to do it. And I did it. Right. And it was months later. And so you talk about how we need to embrace the power of our mind,
Mhm.
and to create this life full of miracles. Every day, there is a new miracle, a small one, just a small one that
Absolutely.
is revealed to me. And I just have to, sometimes I'm sitting in my reading chair and I'm just like, wow, wow. If I had not taken that first step, I wouldn't be able to experience what I'm experiencing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, talk to us about the cover before we get into some of the concepts of the book. What's the rationale behind? Now, my book, I have my my picture on it. My next
Mhm.
book, I'm not going to have my picture on it, but what? But my book was about me, right? So I figured I could have my picture on it. But my next book is
Absolutely.
not. But tell us about this part of the book here because I believe it's very significant.
Yes, yes, it is. So before I go there, I mean, this was my second draft that I got. So I hired a designer, graphic designers. She shared with me some pictures. I opted for it, but somehow I was not getting a good feel about it. It was a very kind of a, you search on Google, you will be able to find one of those, and I wanted to have it unique. And then I did that self introspection, that okay, what I'm trying to do with this book. And what I realized that it takes a village to do something. It is not one individual or one mentor or one person that makes things happen. And our mind, we need to keep watering our mind, keep nurturing our mind, keep giving those seeds, those whatever you call, when we plant a seed, it does not ripe or it does not become big just like that. There is someone who's taking care of it. The unfortunate part is there is no one to take care of your mind except you. So you need to give the nourishment the way you give nourishment to a plant, the way you take care of a plant, because whatever you do good to that plant, that's how it will grow. If you don't water it, it will die soon. It will not grow as huge as it can. So the significance of this is that we need to keep nurturing our mind. We need to keep doing things to our mind so that it stay fresh. Mind is if we don't take out bad stuff from our mind, it will make the entire mind bad, or it would make it dirty. So we need to take care of planet, and it is a process. It is a continuous process. You can't just stop watering the plant. Yes, once it is like 15, 20 years, it's a different story. But with our mind, even then, it will not stop. So we need to continue. So the significance of this picture is it's growing, and you need to give good inputs to your mind the way we give inputs to a plant.
I love that analogy, and it's funny that you mentioned about watering your mind. Yesterday, my aunt was she may actually made 78 today, but she died yesterday.
Oh,
And
sorry.
she was always a person who fed her body with healthy foods, always exercising, right? She was a math teacher, an amazing brain, amazing person, right?
Mhm.
And a few years ago, she was diagnosed with dementia. And she said all of these years, she was taking care of her body and God took her mind. And one of the things I'm reminded of is the point that she decided that she needed to really enjoy life, like getting on a plane. She took a cruise with her daughter. And I think having those experiences really allowed her to come out of her shell. But it's a testament to the fact that one thing could happen in our life where our mind, our voice, our hearing is taken away from us. So we can't keep putting off the thing to tomorrow and next month, or I'm going to wait until XYZ happens. The time to start that new habit is now.
Wow.
You do not need to go and buy a recipe book and clean yourself up. You have to start it now as you are in order for you truly to see the miracles. And when those miracles manifest, just like in the picture how you have you keep watering your mind, you keep watering the soul, you keep talking to it, you keep cultivating it, it will happen. But
Wow.
it's not a one-time thing, and as you stated, it's not like you push a button on the microwave and it happens. It is something that you have to do every day, just a little bit per day.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other significance also, like how the seed, how it turns out into a plant, it's a miracle. It's not that it can happen on its own. And I think you rightly mentioned that you can have miracles on a daily basis, and that is how I define miracles when I was talking about the book title. It's not about that supernatural power. Anything that you could not do before and you are able to do now is a miracle. So we all have the greatness in us to create our own miracles. It's just we need to stay focused and stay consistent in what we do.
I love it. I love it. So there's a couple of features of the book that I absolutely love. And I'm even wondering if the second edition needs to have a journal to go with it. So there's a couple of things I like. So number one, I as I'm reading books, I'm thinking about how I want my next book to be. But I like how at the end of each chapter, you have the call to action, which I believe is so very important. But then you also have the chapter takeaways. And for me, the takeaways allow you to reflect on your journey. But then I also like, wait, there's so many things I like. I also like the quotes that you have at the beginning of the book. In fact, there's one here where you see I wrote love this
Mhm.
because I'm reading, I'm highlighting. I even highlighted something here. Positive mind talk is essentially the key differentiator between success and failure. But what I like is how you said, "Did you know that?" And
Mhm.
that allowed me to say, "Did I know that?" Right? And so I like how the book is making you think, and you talk about self-talk, but it's reminding you of how powerful it is, right? And that it's something that we all need to do so that we can live life to the fullest. And I don't know about you, but I'm just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the key differentiator is we talk too much negative things to our own self, knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not saying that we are doing it deliberately, but just maybe in a joking way or maybe just for fun. But these words, when it goes to our mind, they contain energy. So if you speak derivative words even for fun, they are creating energy around you. So we need to be very, very mindful of the words that we use, the environment that we are in. It's so damn important because that really makes a difference to keep your mind fresh and to stay healthy.
I love it. And when you talk about the environment, I think sometimes we don't realize that the situations we are in, the places we go, the things we do can all contribute to an end result. And one of the things that I pride myself on is while I may want to go everywhere and do all the things, I have the power to choose what I do and don't do. And as a person who has a brand, that makes me even more conscious about where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with. But also, I'm big on people seeing through me what it is like to live the life that I'm talking about, right? I don't want it to be just something that I'm talking about. It's something that I live and breathe on a day to day basis. And I'm the same person in every setting that you see me in, so that I'm not walking around with a mask on, right? I've designed my life my way and I'm living it.
Mhm.
All by the grace of God that I'm allowed to live this life. But it's not enough to have faith if you don't put in the work because you got to work.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no substitute to hard work. No matter how much of positive talk you do to yourself, how many positive thinking you have, things will not happen with the click of a button or with a twist. You need to put the work. Work has to be done. You need to put your mind to it, and then you need to take that first step. That taking that first step is like a half battle done won. That is what I believe in.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you. I oftentimes ask authors this question. What's your favorite part of the book? What's the part? And I don't know about you, but I've read my own book multiple times. I'm in the process of doing an audio book, so I've heard it more times than I care to hear it. But what's your favorite part of the book?
So when I have reread and read multiple times, because when you're writing it, you keep on thinking to improve. And every time when I was on this patch, it really struck to me. And that was more about the analyzation part. Um, because most of the time we do things without realizing whether am I the right person for this? Do I have the right skills? Am I prepared? And we just do it, and then we blame that, man, you know what, you told me to do it, I did it, and it didn't work out. Now you will have that impression that it didn't work out for me, but you will never go back and realize that why it didn't work out for you. And the swimming example that I gave in the book, when I started swimming after a gap of many years, that's what happened with me. I was not prepared. I was excited to be on the pool, but I was not prepared. And I had to put some work, before I can come back. So oftentimes we are not prepared. We do not, take directions. We think we know it all. Most of us, we do not believe in that a mentor or a coach. And being a mindset and leadership coach, I have my own coaches. I have multiple coaches. And for social media, I have a coach who is helping me. For my own book, there was a coach. I have a business coach. So point is that when you have these coaches, they give you directions. They tell you things that you don't know, the things that are part of your blind spot. So have a mentor, have a coach. Does not It has to be a paid coach. I'm not saying you go and pay $1,000 to a coach. It could be your partner, it could be in your office, it could be in your church, but have someone who you trust and who you think would be the person who can guide you in your own growth path.
I love that. And you know what? So those who provide me with coaching services, I actually call them my partners, right? So even in my email box, how I have it organized, they're labeled as partners. And they're partners because they're walking side by side with me in this journey, and they're providing me with expertise based on their zone of genius, because I realize I can't know all the things, even though I wanted to. I wanted to know all the things, right? But you have to have those partners, those coaches, those mentors to help you on the journey, because you can't do it alone.
Absolutely.
You have to
Absolutely.
have that support. So
Absolutely.
I have enjoyed our conversation today. I also want to highlight that I love how in the book you have the QR code to join your Facebook group. I thought that was really cool as well. As I was looking at your book, I was like, man, I should have done XYZ. But it's the first book, right? And so now that I've read all these different books, I have so many ideas in my head. And I had to tell myself, Lisa, if you try to incorporate all these things in your book, you're never going to finish this second book. So you got to have a cutoff. You have to identify what do you really need to have in there so that it's unique to you and it's not overkill, right? Because we can definitely do the overkill. So
Absolutely.
how can our listening viewing audience find you besides
Absolutely.
Facebook?
Yep. So anyone who would type my book name, which is Habits Number Four Miracles, they will be able to log into multiple sources where they can find me, which is one is my website, my book website, as well as my speaking website. So because I speak about my book as well, I want to share the message to various college, universities, and corporations. So my Mind Talks Matters is .com is my booking website for speaking engagement. But I would love to hear from you about this episode, and when you read this book, I want to see how it transformed you. Uh, habitsformiracles.com.
I love it. Well, I want to thank you so much for being one of the guests on 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. It's been a pleasure to meet you, to learn more about you. It's one thing to read about the author, right, in the back of the book, but it's another thing to see and hear you and continue to learn more about you. And I joke about this all the time. I'm going to continue 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, as long as I'm physically able to do it. But I said, I got to have the reunion, right? So that we can all talk about what happened the last 12 months, right? What's new? How have we grown? what lives have we changed? Because I believe that together we're stronger. And I consider this to be a movement. This is a movement where we're helping others around the world. And there's enough
Absolutely.
of us to go around, right?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, thank you so much. And everyone, this has been another episode 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.